We begin this morning with a partial government shutdown triggered after a funding deadline passed and the House and Senate failed to get a final package signed into law. You're looking at live pictures from Washington, D.C. this morning. The shutdown began early Saturday after the House did not act in time on a Senate-passed funding plan. The partial government shutdown could stretch into Tuesday. Republicans wanted to vote today. Democrats pushed it to tomorrow. DHS funding is on the table in a fight over immigration enforcement. Some services remain operating, but many federal workforces, they are facing furloughs and may be required to work without pay. Here we go again. Speaker Mike Johnson says he believes the votes are there to end the shutdown tomorrow. We're hoping that's the case, and we will keep you posted on that. The Democrats aren't happy in the meantime with ICE and all of their enforcements. Agents are just doing their jobs. Let's bring in Sheriff Richard Mack, a friend of ours here. Sheriff Mack is here. He is very vocal about the Police Officer Association, the ICE Association, and he is joining us here. Sheriff Mack, good to see you. Good morning. Thanks for joining me and being with me here on the morning show. I know we're used to the afternoons, but good to have you up nice and bright and early with us. How are you?
Doing great, and anytime, day or night, I'll be with you anytime. I got your back, and I'm certainly with Mike and all the work that he's doing, and I even am wearing his socks this morning.
Oh, I'm sure they're comfortable. Yes, I wear his slippers every night, the my slippers. But it's good to have you with us. And the pillows and all the things. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the world. It's crazy out there, Sheriff. The president posting this late yesterday. He says this: the biggest problem our country has is that the Democrats are soft on crime. They want to protect the criminal, violent, and vicious as they may be, at the expense of our great American citizens and patriots. That is not what America is about and never will be. President DJT, what's your thoughts on his post?
I think that's an understatement, that they're being soft on crime. They are totally supporting crime. That's a big difference, just being soft. They are supporting the drug dealers, the international gangs, the international terrorists who have infiltrated our country. Did anybody think that when you open the border for 4 years, that the international terrorists are not going to come into our country? That the cartels are not going to come into our country? And they have joined forces, and they are working together, and they have set up sleeper cells all over this country, all in the name of the Democrats having what? There has to be some benefit for the Democrats in any transaction, in any deal making. There has to be something in it for both parties. One, the criminals get to come into our country and invade our country and set up disaster cells all over the country, attack cells, maybe the best word, all over our country. What do the Democrats get out of this? They get people added to their voter rolls. That is it. That's the only benefit they really get, but they want it and they love it. And that is exactly the subterfuge behind all this Democrat corruption and criminality. They are supporting the worst enemies of America. They are supporting the worst criminals that have ever entered our country. This makes the mafia look like kindergarten. And folks, just so you know, the training is out there, what these sleeper cells are planning to do. And the right now, it's that they're going to attack America from within, and they're going to attack our grid, our power grid, our water source, and anything else they can, because frankly, they don't care. Anything to take down America, they will do.
You're right. And Sheriff, I think back to 9/11. I think back to 9/11, and after the towers were hit, I remember watching on the news, and I don't really recall, because I was in shock like the rest of the world when that happened, but I don't recall who said it, but someone said the next big threat is going to be airborne. Then we had COVID years later. And so you're absolutely right. They are planning all of this. They're no telling who is in our homeland right now. And so ICE is just doing its job, trying to get these illegals out of here, trying to get these terrorists, many on the world's most wanted list. The world's most wanted list are somewhere in our country. And the left is out there supporting these criminals, supporting these illegals, these terrorists, wanting them to stay. From a law enforcement standpoint, when did the good guys become the bad guys?
Yeah, I think that's what all the federal agents and ICE and Border Patrol agents, I think that's what they're saying. Oh, when did protecting our country become a bad thing? And clearly, the Constitution delineates that this is a federal responsibility. Naturalization comes under Article 1, Section 8. Article 4, Section 4 says that the United States government shall protect our borders from invasion. And now that the federal government intentionally brought in these people, not just allowed, but brought them in, flew them in, does everybody really think, if for a minute, that the Tren de Aragua gangs all walked here 4,000 or 5,000 miles, that they actually walked here? This whole thing is so crazy. And only Democrats could be this insane to say, oh, yes, we want to keep them all here. That is what the 2026 midterm should be about. That the Democrats want these criminals, want these traitors, and that the Democrats have actually been traitors to America so that they can get what? Gain more power and control over the political monopoly that they've been wanting to have. And that's what this is all about. It's for their political monopoly. And if you really want to know another one, this is the epitome of election fraud. Bringing in illegals and then making sure they can all get driver's licenses so that they can get registered to vote. And if they don't have driver's licenses, that's fine too. You don't need those, just as you alluded to at the beginning. You don't need any ID. Just come in and vote. This is how absolutely insane this entire matter is.
Yeah, it's all a well thought out plan from the Democrats to try to gain control, like you just mentioned. But Sheriff, going back to Minneapolis, what are your thoughts when you see ICE going into the city, doing their jobs, and you've seen, the eruption of protests, and they're just destroying buildings and cars and getting into ICE vehicles and stealing ICE members, agents' personal information, things like that. And then you see the Minneapolis Police Department being told to stand down. They're not giving the federal agents the support that they need at the hands of their leaders. So what role do sheriffs play in this? What role do police chiefs play in this when ICE does come into your city?
That's the $10,000 question. I work with sheriffs all across the country. Just got back from Washington a couple of weeks ago where we dealt with a real huge problem in Washington state because the woke state of Washington is trying to get rid of sheriffs. And they're doing a good job of it. And so we went there to do a Save Our Sheriffs rally. But every time I see this on TV, I ask myself the question, I say it out loud. Where in the hell are the sheriffs in Minnesota? Well, it looks like the state of Minnesota has become a mecca for international terrorists and infiltration of all sorts of illegal aliens, and that the illegal aliens now rule the roost in Minnesota. And so politicians are catering to them because these politicians want to be elected or reelected. It's the reason why the governor there is stepping down, because they didn't take care of business. And they now know that they've been caught filtering all sorts of taxpayer dollars to these illegal aliens. And now they've been caught, and now they don't know what to do about it. So they're just going to double down and try to make the best of what the horrible situation that they have allowed to infiltrate their state. But my question, I still want to go back to it. Where are the sheriffs of Minneapolis and St. Paul and Minnesota? What are they doing? I've never heard from any of them involved in any of this. What's going on? Sheriff, do you know that Minneapolis is inside your county? And have you tried to work with the chief of police to make sure that protesters are safe and that federal agents are also safe? And why is it that Florida is not having this problem? They have lots of illegal aliens there. Everything is under control. It's all working because the sheriffs are working with ICE and Tom Homan to keep the peace and protect the people from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Why are you not doing that in Minnesota? The sheriffs are doing their jobs in Florida. Why is there peace in Florida and then this chaos in Minnesota, and you're trying to blame Trump and ICE for that? I don't think it was Trump or ICE that invaded a church and interrupted the First Amendment right of all these people attending church. What on earth could you possibly be thinking? And nobody's protecting them and saying, "Oh yes, the churches have a right to worship as they please." And then Don Lemon comes in, and of course he's innocent because of press. Folks, this has gotten so insane, and I'm going to tell you right now where to place the blame. It is with the Democrat Party and the woke extremist leftists in Minnesota and any place else in the country. They're out of their minds, and they're actually supporting this kind of criminal activity. You want more sexual exploitation of children? Keep behind the Democrats in Minnesota.
Yeah, you're right. And, you mentioned Florida is not having this problem. Texas isn't having this problem. Governor Greg Abbott wouldn't put up with that. But these woke, liberal states and cities are having this problem. You mentioned the sheriff. Where's the sheriff there? Well, it's an elected position. And so these Democrats, he's worried about his job. So he's bowing down to the Democrats who vote him into office and these illegals who they're wanting to vote. So that's where he's at, is wanting to save his job. But, President Trump, Sheriff, just mentioned this weekend, he was talking about sanctuary cities. Let's take a quick listen to what he had to say.
No, I let them ask us if they want help. They're always complaining. If you go in, they complain. They complain no matter what. We brought crime to the lowest point in the history of our country, 125 years, 1900. Think of it. Year. Think of that, 1900. Can you imagine? We have the lowest crime in the history of our country, despite the fact that our country was riddled with a lot of bad people from the Biden open border. But we've taken a lot of them out. We're at the lowest point in history. We have the least number of murders in the recorded history of our country. That's incredible. But honestly, the crime-ridden cities are all Democrat-run cities. And if they want help, they have to ask for it. Because if we go in, all they do is complain. But if they want help, they can ask for it. And they're going to need help. Los Angeles, as an example, we went in, we solved it. The chief law enforcement officer in Los Angeles said they couldn't have done it without the federal government. A week later, he said they didn't need the federal government. So we don't want that. If they want help, they'll ask, but they have to say please.
Sheriff, the numbers don't lie. He's absolutely right. Look what happened in D.C. when the feds moved in. Low crime rates. There was a post and numbers just last night. They had their first homicide of 2026. And they said that this has never happened in so many years because there was constantly hard crimes going on in the nation's capital. And so President Trump is right. And you're right. The only place this is going on is in sanctuary cities and states and Democrat-run areas.
Yeah, and they're winning that election in Texas. They won that, an upset over a Republican. Yeah. And are we really looking? I don't know. Is the Republican Party really getting the message out to all the voters and letting people know what's going on in our country? The message of getting ICE out is winning when we have all of this criminal activity going. Look, they're so concerned. And look, the CSPOA and I do not support any of these killings at all. However, it looks like, especially with Renee Good, that she provoked this incident. She hit a cop with a car, with her vehicle, her truck, and that's going to negate any wrongdoing on his part. How, I wouldn't have taken the shot. I would not have shot her. I had plenty of situations where I could have shot someone, and I never did in 20 years of law enforcement. And I think a lot of discretion has to be used by officers. The responsibility is ours. The life and death situations that we're in on a daily basis in law enforcement, I'm not going to judge this man, but I will tell you honestly, who pulled the trigger, I would not have taken that shot. And neither did any of the other police officers there at the time. So I morally, I wouldn't have done it. Technically, according to the rules of engagement and protocols for lethal force, I think he's going to be found not guilty. Of course, you never know what kind of judge he's going to get. Judges are activists today instead of just doing their job and following the law, which is another big, huge issue in our country. But we've got the American people have got to wake up. The American people have got to get involved in this, and they've got to see what's really going on.
If you don't go out and vote, that's a vote for the Democrats. You got to go out and vote. 2026 is huge. As if the Democrats win in 2026 in November, they're going to go after Trump. They're going to go after his administration, and then they're going to come after us. So it's a huge, huge election coming up in 2026 at the end of the year. Real quick, Sheriff, we're running out of time, but you brought this up, and I want to ask this question. You said you wouldn't have taken the shot.
No.
In those quick instances, the blink of an eye, everything changes. Everything happens fast. She put her foot on the pedal, hit the officer. He fired back. Was he wrong? Was he trained? The left is saying that ICE officers, federal agents, are not trained well enough to be on the streets. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't know what their training is, but I do know I've been to the FBI National Academy back when I was sheriff in early 90s. They're very well trained. Again, I have not been to ICE training, but I would be extremely surprised if they're not trained. People are throwing that out there. They don't know what they're talking about. Have they been through the training? Have they seen the training? No, come on.
I'll tell you a fun little story real quick. I know we have to wrap up. We're running out of time, but I took a Citizens Academy class with a local police department, and we went through an actual, it was a mock situation where you walk into a building and under the impression that it was being robbed and hostages were being held, and you had to turn around in different rooms to look for the gunmen. And, you have obviously fake guns and ammunition, but I made several mistakes. When I turned that corner and someone came after me thinking that it might have been a gunman, I shot. It was an innocent bystander running to me for help. So when you're running, right. I've gone through that training. So when you're in that split second, situation, accidents happen, things happen. You said you wouldn't have shot. This guy did. Is there a right or wrong? I don't know. I just know that I feel I come from a law enforcement family. These people are well trained. They know their jobs. But whenever you're in that moment and somebody either reaches for a gun or reaches for their vehicle to ram into you or whatever the case may be, it's a split second decision. And at the end of the day, you have the entire internet and fake news media judging this person on how they reacted. But it's very hard when you are in that situation, as you know.
That's a good point. That's a valid point and a good point.
Well, let's talk about real quick. I know you have a website I want to direct everyone to. You can get involved. People can get involved, and they can follow everything you do. And Back the Blue, this is the website to go to. Sheriff, real quick, tell us about it.
Well, this is the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and every American is invited to be a part of this peaceful and effective solution. Join us. Join our CSPOA posse. Everyone should be a member because this is one of the most peaceful and effective solutions that we have left in America. You have to be involved in the freedom process or it ain't going to happen.
You're absolutely right. Sheriff, always a pleasure to have you on. Come back and see us soon. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, Vanessa. See you soon.
Well, tensions between the U.S. and Cuba are rising, but Washington says it's also beginning preliminary talks with Havana's leadership amid increasing pressure on the island nation. The president giving an update without specifics.
We're starting to talk to Cuba. Yeah, we're starting to tell us who they need help on a humanitarian basis, and we're starting to talk to Cuba. Don't forget, a lot of people that live in our country are treated very badly by Cuba, and we want them to be. They all voted for me, and we want them to be treated well. We'd like to be able to have them go back to home to their country, which they haven't seen their family, their country for many, many decades. So we'll work that. I'll be able to work that out.
The economic pressure comes after Cuba's traditional ally, Venezuela, seized shipments following political upheaval there. And Mexico, Cuba's other main supplier, has paused oil deliveries. Havana's leader has denied that formal negotiations are underway. Global voices, including Pope Leo, are arguing that both sides need to pursue sincere dialogue, saying this: "I have received the greatly troubling news regarding an increase in tensions between Cuba and the United States of America, two neighboring countries. I echo the message of the Cuban bishops, inviting all responsible parties to promote a sincere and effective dialogue in order to avoid violence and every action that could increase the suffering of the dear Cuban people." Meanwhile, tensions between the U.S. and Iran remain high. Both sides are signaling a possible diplomatic opening, even as the risk of broader conflict looms. Take a listen.
Give us an update on where your thinking is right now with Iran, if you have made a final decision on what you want to do.
I mean, I certainly can't tell you that, but we do have very big, powerful ships heading in that direction, as you know. I can't tell you. But I hope they negotiate something that's acceptable.
He can't tell us the plans. Why would he? This has a lot to do with Iran's nuclear program. U.S. military assets have been deployed to the region as a show of strength. Back in Washington now, the January 6th suspected pipe bomber, he's been in court. Our Kara Castronova has been following this extensively. Here's Kara with an update on what's been going on inside the courtroom.
The United States versus Brian Cole Jr., otherwise known as the alleged pipe bomber. The new judge that is presiding, that was assigned to this case, is U.S. District Judge Amir H. Ali. That would be an auto pen appointee, otherwise known as Joe Biden, appointed this District Judge Amir H. Ali to the bench, and he is originally from Canada, this Judge Ali. At the defense table, there were approximately 5 to 6 attorneys present because the family of the pipe bomber has the funds to hire these attorneys, and they want the best representation for their son. The main attorneys are John Shulman, Mario Williams, and Alex Little. And for the government, there is prosecutor and deep state swamp creature of the week from 2 weeks ago for LINDELLTV. That would be Jocelyn Ballantyne, and her other prosecutor that she had do most of the talking as she supervised, that would be Charles Jones, another assistant prosecutor with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So they were there working with Judge Amir Ali, or so it seemed. It did seem at times to me as a spectator that the judge was acting as part of the prosecution. And that's my observation as a court observer. I have been to many J6 trials, and I've seen this time and time again, where the judges literally lead the prosecution and tell them pretty much what to say, or at least they lead them into what they want to hear. And I was seeing this in a subtle way coming out of Judge Ali. I was also seeing him cut off the defense and was much less patient with the defense than he was with the prosecution, who, like I said, he was sort of giving hints to as to what he wanted to hear when it came to their oral arguments. The judge acknowledged that this matter is a matter of public interest. Now, this comes into play for me as a journalist and interesting because the way that I read it, and a lot of people in the courtroom did, was that this was a caution to the family of the alleged pipe bomber not to talk to the press, not to talk to journalists, not to make any public statements. And I'm certain that they read it this way because a lot of them haven't spoken to the press. And I happen to know that any family would want to speak to the media if they believe that their relative is innocent, that their beloved son or grandson is innocent. But this family seems frightened to talk to the media for the most part. And the judge in the courtroom literally said, and I read this like a soft warning aimed at the defense counsel and at the defense, and potentially the press that there would be no theatrics or antics. Basically, don't talk to the press. That is the way that that was interpreted by me. And I would like to reach out, and I will, to the courthouse and ask for some clarity on what the judge meant when he said that. What did the judge mean when he said that? Who was that aimed at? Was that aimed at the press? Was that aimed at the family? Was that aimed at Brian Cole Jr. himself? What did he mean by no antics and no theatrics? Judge Amir Ali, appointed by the Biden auto pen. What did you mean by that? Really cool stuff coming out of the defense. I want to say a lot of respect I have for this defense team. They are excellent. Some of the discovery demands that they're asking for, that they're saying that could contain Brady material that could exonerate their client, are other investigated individuals. They want to know who the government has investigated before. They want the government to turn over any information on other investigated individuals. They are requesting subpoenas, investigative materials relating to other people investigated in the pipe bomber probe. That is not Mr. Cole. The government acknowledged this request on the record as they were forced to do so. So this was put on the record. They also, they're demanding, the defense is demanding interagency communications. They are requesting interagency communications and stated exculpatory material could be lingering there. So they're saying there could be exculpatory material that could basically exonerate Brian Cole Jr. lingering in interagency communications. To be specific, communications between the CIA and the FBI and the DOJ and the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police and Department of Homeland Security, or whoever would have taken interest in this case through the years. And we know a lot of agencies did. This was the biggest case for 5 years. That was a cold case only until last December, and the statute of limitations, which ran up now in January. So certainly there are a trove of interagency communications that linger out there, and a trove of information on other investigated individuals. And it's obviously in the right of the defense to ask that the government turn over this material that could contain potential Brady information in there that could exonerate Brian Cole Jr. So we'll see if the government turns over this information. If I was a betting woman, I would say that they're not going to do that. They obviously acknowledged the request with a cookie cutter response, but do you really think the Department of Justice and the likes of Jocelyn Valentine, who tried to allegedly frame President Trump, who literally the Proud Boys and other J6 defendants have alleged that she coerced false confessions out of them and tried to offer them deals in order to frame President Trump? They've all come out and said this. Do you really think that an individual like this person is going to hand over any type of information that the defense is asking for that could really show a lot of the things that happened on January 6th, like the classified intel tracking material? Another thing that the defense is asking for, classified intel tracking material. The defense requested classified reporting described as related to tracking. They're asking for congressional materials. They said, as you're probably aware to the judge, there is a congressional investigation into this matter. I attended the January 6th committee under Representative Loudermilk only a few weeks ago that addressed the pipe bomb. So they said, we would like to see all the materials that Congress has pertaining to their investigation into the pipe bomb. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. Maybe Congress has material that points to another individual. As you know, if you follow this, Barry Loudermilk has said, Representative Barry Loudermilk, in charge of the J6 committee, he has said on the record that there's always been some suspicion that law enforcement might have been involved with the pipe bomb. He's also subpoenaed Carlin Younger, who is the RNC, who is the woman who has some ties to the federal government that coincidentally found the pipe bomb outside of the RNC, and who has said numerous times that it was not there in the morning. It was only there when she found it around 12 noon or 1 p.m. That she was there earlier that day and it wasn't there, yet they're charging Brian Cole Jr. with placing the bomb on January 5th. So it should have been there theoretically on the morning of the 6th, but Carlin Younger is not responding to Congress. They had to send her out another strongly worded letter saying that she had not responded to their other strongly worded letter, demanding that she come and sit before Congress for an interview. She has not responded. That's very interesting. a lot of other bookkeeping happened, but another thing that really stood out to me, obviously, was a couple of things. Always two arguments to every story when you observe court, hearings, specifically, obviously, when it comes to criminal cases. The prosecution got up and made the argument, and this was pertaining to a pretrial detention. If he should be kept in pretrial detention or released to his grandmother, where he could wear an ankle bracelet and be monitored that way. Said that he's a threat to somehow a threat to the community because they're alleging that he wiped his cell phone in 2022 and factory reset it a few times. The defense is saying that the reason that he did that was because he has OCD and autism, and that's something that's common. And they're saying that just because he wiped his cell phone and factory reset it, that doesn't prove that he is the pipe bomber. And the defense is saying that, there was a pattern of him factory resetting his phone after 2022, and somehow this leads to, I guess they're trying to make the argument that he's dangerous in some way and should be kept in pretrial detention. His lawyers argued back, this has nothing to do with whether or not he's dangerous. These are things that we can argue at trial if he's guilty or not guilty, but what does this have to do with him being dangerous to the community? And they didn't really have an answer for that. So it was acknowledged that Brian Cole Jr. wiped his phone in 2022 with a factory reset. But his defense attorneys are saying, but if you're trying to say he tried to hide evidence, then wouldn't he have gotten rid of the receipts when he bought pipes at Home Depot and other things that you're accusing him of, that you're saying he used to build these pipe bombs? When you raided his car, all of those receipts were in there. He never threw them away. He kept them for 5 years. He keeps all of his things, I guess, in his car. So if he was trying to cover up being, quote unquote, the pipe bomber, wouldn't he have thrown out those receipts? Why would he go to the extent of factory resetting his phone to cover up his crimes, but not throw away receipts? That would be common sense. So they made that point, which I thought was an interesting point. So there was that back and forth. And what else was there that stood out to me? What stood out to me, obviously, the most was the way that journalists and members of the public were treated in this courthouse. We'll get to that at the end. I just want to make sure that I got everything that I wanted to tell you guys. So the defense is saying that Cole was a science-focused nerd that was interested in experiments and not weapons. They're basically making this argument. And a lot of people have made the comparison of this guy because he sort of looks like Steve Urkel, a little bit too Steve Urkel. But they're literally saying he was Steve Urkel, that he bought beakers on Amazon, that he was interested in quote-unquote science experiments, that he tried to build a rocket using, his grandmother said, using cardboard. And he liked to build these things, but they're saying that doesn't prove that he was the pipe bomber just because he liked to conduct these science experiments. So I guess we have to see more evidence as it comes out in trial, but they kept saying that this device was inert, and there's evidence they have to show that it was never going to go off. So they're saying that this wasn't him, this wasn't the guy that planted it, but even so, they're arguing he's not dangerous because it wasn't, even if he was this person, and they're not conceding to the fact that he was, they're saying that these bombs were inert. And that they weren't going to work. And they used a really interesting analogy of a toy gun robbery. If a kid goes into a store that's autistic and that doesn't know any better with a toy gun and tries to rob it, and somebody takes the toy gun out of his hand and no robbery ever happens, could you really charge that guy with robbery and having a firearm? Well, they're saying similarly, they're charging this guy with placing bombs, but those bombs didn't work. They were inert. They were not working. And also, no explosion ever happened. So how are you charging him with being a pipe bomber with working bombs when they didn't work and actually they never went off? So that was an interesting analogy used by the defense. Again, the judge kept pushing back at the defense, and in my opinion, was assisting the prosecution, sort of leading them where to go when they came back with their rebuttal after the defense argued all of these things. Let's talk really quickly about the confession. They did hit on the quote unquote confession. It was a 4-hour interview with the FBI with no defense counsel there. And the prosecution tried to argue that Brian Cole Jr. they're like, okay, maybe he's autistic and OCD, but he was smart enough to come up with a 2-hour story, quote unquote. They're calling it a concocted story about saying that he was there on January 5th. His alibi, I guess, or what he told them at the beginning was he went to DC on January 5th from about 30 minutes away where he lives in Virginia to go to the rally that was there that night. And as anybody knows that went to the January 6th rally, there was a lot of rallies on the night of January 5th as well by multiple organizations. So I guess his story was that he wanted to go check one of those out. So he went to check one of those out is what he's saying. And then they're saying that he couldn't keep that story because there were too many holes in it. So eventually he had to just crack and tell them the truth because the story wasn't quote unquote working. I don't know. I don't want to mischaracterize what they're saying, but they're basically saying he was so smart because he crafted the story, but then he realized it wasn't working. He just all of a sudden confessed. And then of course the defense comes back and says, no, that's not what happened at all. He was telling the truth. And then you guys kept pressuring him. And then he started to say things that weren't true because of the pressure. So that was basically what they were alluding to, that he was telling you guys what happened. And then you weren't believing him. You kept pressuring him and telling him that he was the quote unquote pipe bomber. And then he just started agreeing with you. So that was really kind of what the defense was alluding to in response to that coming from the prosecution. I would love to see that confession tape. I'm a pretty good reader when it comes to if people are telling the truth or not. So I would love to see that. But to summarize everything, the judge said that he will not rule orally. He indicated that a written order would follow, but I think it's pretty obvious he's not letting this guy out of jail as much as the family wants him to come home. It doesn't look like that's happening. I would be very surprised if it did. This guy was just too much in favor. I feel like I just sensed it with the prosecution. So that's where the that's where the hearing ended. And the next date is on February 27th at 10:30 a.m. So we're definitely going to try to make that one, of course, and hear any new evidence that comes out. But the last thing I want to say that was notable about this hearing was that as soon as it was over, something happened that I've never seen before, and I spoke to a number of other journalists there as well, and they've never seen it happen either, which is the windows to the courtroom were blocked with black paper so that people couldn't look into the windows. As soon as they shut the doors, they like very strangely put this black paper up to cover the windows so nobody could see in. And then the guards came and the U.S. Marshals, and they told anybody that was there in that hearing they had to leave the building, which has never happened before. Again, I've covered trials for years, and so I have a lot of the other journalists that were there to witness that, and they said that's never happened before. It's a public courtroom, a public building where anybody could go as long as you could pass through security and you're not carrying a weapon. You can go inside. There's a cafeteria there that the public is welcome to eat in. And it's a public courthouse. There's accountability when it comes to these trials. The members of the public are allowed to sit in on any trial that they want to. So for the court officers to wait outside of that door and tell everybody there that they had to leave right then and there, you gotta go. That was bizarre. That was really bizarre. You could only speculate that that was coming from the prosecution, that don't want to answer questions from journalists, that don't want journalists waiting around trying to get questions from them outside, because they made us physically leave the courtroom. They said that we could wait in the foyer in the cold, that we were not allowed to wait in the courtroom. Generally, journalists wait, and members of the public could sit on benches in the courtroom, and they could kind of keep an eye on the doors and see when members of the prosecution team or the defense team or anybody that's related to the court trial is leaving, and then they will go outside and try to capture a question or a video of those individuals. As you've seen a million times when people leave courthouses, they're always, journalists will always ask them questions. Whether they decide to answer it or not is up to them, but it's the journalist's right to ask them questions. And they made it so that they pushed the journalists and members of the public out of the building into below zero weather here in Washington, D.C., knowing that eventually everybody's going to leave because it's freezing out, rather than let them remain in the courtroom. So I've never seen that before. So something's fishy, something's going on here. Like, these people want us to believe that they're conducting business in a fair and transparent way when it comes to the alleged pipe bomber case, but then they have prosecutors like Jocelyn Ballantyne in charge of the case, and they're putting black paper in the windows as soon as the court hearing is over and making members of the public and journalists leave the courtroom and leave the courthouse, and telling us we can't even stay there when we know that the rules, those are not the rules. You guys could look this stuff up. You can't make it up. So that was my experience yesterday at the hearing of the alleged pipe bomber. Really looking forward to the government's response when it comes to those interagency communications and that evidence and any type of information that they have on any other suspect that's not Brian Cole Jr., because there is some information in there that I'm sure will one day come out. It's probably going to be FOIA'd years from now, that will be very revealing and very telling when it comes to the truth about January 6th. But in the meantime, will the pipe bomber's family and will the alleged pipe bomber, Brian Cole Jr.'s attorneys, be able to obtain what they're saying is information that can contain Brady evidence, that Brady evidence could be woven into all of these communications? Do you think that the prosecution will turn it over, or that will they find some way to reject this request from the defense? You guys let me know. Please leave a comment below or write me your thoughts. Will Brian Cole Jr.'s defense team be able to obtain interagency communications and information on any other suspects that the government had when it comes to the pipe bomber through the years as discovery that they're saying contains Brady material?
All right, and looking at what our viewers are saying this morning about this story, All right, here's what a lot of you are saying online. Lots of comments on social media about what Kara is covering with the pipe bomber story, the alleged pipe bomber. Lucky55B2W says this reminds me of the 2020 election when the windows were being covered up. And I have to agree, I like this comment, because when I first heard Kara talking about what was going on in the hearing and the cover-ups of the windows, my mind went exactly the same way as this viewer. Back to the 2020 election when they were covering up the windows. All right, let's listen to Widget Rain 7. Of course, they will slow walk it if they can't just get it dismissed. Anything the Democrats were involved in was probably illegal and or unconstitutional. So this is no surprise. Thank you all so much for joining the conversation and chiming in with your thoughts. Now to our Maha Mom segment. We have a lot to discuss today when it comes to being a Maha Mom. Florida, once again, setting a high standard for the rest of the nation. The Florida Surgeon General has announced that all vaccine mandates in the state will be ending.
But what I'm most excited about is an announcement that we're going to make, that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them. All of them. Every last one of them. Yeah. Every last one of them. All of them. Every last one of them. Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Okay? Who am I as a government, or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body? Who am I to tell you what your child should put in your body? I don't have that right. Your body is a gift from God. What you put into your body, is because of your relationship with your body and your God. I don't have that right. Government does not have that right. They want you to believe they have that right. And unfortunately, they've been successful. They've been successful.
Dr. Stella Emanuel responded by saying this: newborn babies will no longer be injected with a vaccine that was meant for prostitutes and drug addicts. Hepatitis B shot at birth, be gone, she says. And I agree. It's not needed, not for the babies. But moms have a fight against them when we stand up for our babies. Most pediatricians force vaccines, and it's hard to find a doctor who doesn't. Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis is fighting for parents as well.
Mother and surrounded bonded with my fellow mothers and father. I know that parents are constantly navigating decisions about their children's well-being and their health, and those decisions must be guided by truth, by data, by the evidence, and not coercion. Parents deserve accurate, complete information about the benefits, the risks, implications, the data, or the lack thereof when it comes to vaccines. They should be empowered to make informed decisions about their children's well-being without fear of discrimination. No parent should lose their pediatrician. No family should ever be dropped from care. And no parent should be judged or excluded because of their vaccine choices. And unfortunately, that is what we are seeing across the state of Florida. I'm joined by some moms who are going to tell their stories, and I also have several letters from moms who have given this to us saying that they have lost their opportunity to be seen by a pediatrician because of their vaccine choices. Transparency and honesty builds trust, and informed consent is not optional, it is essential. Parents should be empowered with the truth to make.
And all of these vaccines come with risks. Moms, dads, we're not alone. As you can see, Republicans are fighting for our children against pediatricians, against Big Pharma. But how long will it take? I know it can be frustrating, especially with a high number of autism cases right now. Where do we turn? Who can help us? Pediatricians won't let us come visit with our babies because we won't let them get vaccinated. They want to tell us what to do with our children. Sometimes as parents, we feel helpless, but help is on the way. So continue being the biggest advocate for your babies. Do not give up the fight. Washington is hearing our battle cry. Fight for your babies. Do not give up. And more to come here this morning. The Carolinas blanketed in snow. Look at that. We'll look at the numbers next.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
North Carolina is digging out this morning after a rare high-impact snowstorm blanketed the state, creating dangerous travel from the mountains to the coast. The governor is urging drivers to stay off the roads as crews work to clear the interstates and major routes. Neighbors are helping neighbors, though. Trucks teamed up to help a stuck 18-wheeler get to safety. Love seeing when that happens. There's the video right there, how they all lined up to pull that 18-wheeler to safety. And at the University of North Carolina, they stayed off the roads but had a fun snowy day. Look how much fun they're having on campus. Students enjoying the snow day, all bundled up with lots of smiles and laughter, making memories. And with more on the wintry conditions there, let's go to meteorologist Dana Melanson.
Exactly right, Vanessa. The extreme cold, snow, and bitter winter conditions are still affecting areas mainly hit in the Carolinas during the last 36 hours. We're not looking at a lot of activity that's going to continue today with high pressure replacing the storm system, but that's not before during the last, again, 36 hours in the Carolinas receiving record amounts of snowfall in portions of the area. We had almost 16 inches right along the eastern seaboard of North Carolina, 18.2 in areas in the southernmost edition of South Carolina. The Charlotte area received right around 11 inches of snow, but the record high was in Faust, North Carolina, where they got 22.5 inches of snow, with still more power outages still being recorded in some areas, not getting above the freezing mark for the last 48 hours. Vanessa?
Yeah, and we're hearing that refreezing may be an issue. Some of that snow may melt, but will refreeze again. They're warning people to be careful out there. So if you live in the Carolinas, stay bundled up, stay warm, and we are hoping for the best for all of you out there. Well, the heat is on, though, for the America 250 celebrations. The events are going to be epic. And what better president to be holding office this year than President Trump, who is an epic party planner. We all know he is. Everything he does and everything he plans is always the best of the best. Well, he's now announced a Grand Prix party.
You know him, Roger? Very good guy. Roger, no auto pen. I didn't use an auto pen. Here, Roger, take that.
I will.
Here you go, my man. I don't want to sign each letter. You know, they sign each letter. They hand pens. I used to watch these presidents. One letter. You got to see what it looks like at the end. Never looks too good. Here, Rich, I'll take that. That's for your team.
Thank you.
Congratulations. This is really exciting.
Thank you.
So he signed it. The Freedom 250 Grand Prix is a planned IndyCar street race in Washington, D.C., and it's scheduled for August of this year, the 21st and 22nd, and also the 23rd. So it's going to be a multi-day event. When we come back, a look at your news to go as you start your day. Stay with us.
Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just $2 a capsule. Use my promo code LINDELLTV to get an extra 10% off of that. You need ivermectin, antibiotics, or methylene blue, you name it, they've got it. They make it simple. You fill out a short online form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your meds ship fast right to your front door. If you want to be prepared and have your medications on hand, this is your new pharmacy. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code LINDELL10 saves you even more. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code LINDELL10.
Let's look at opening bell over on Wall Street to see how we're starting the week. The Dow, S&P 500, NASDAQ, all in the green. Good numbers there. Love to see that as we start our week. Even looking at the big board, a lot of green there further down. So good news for investors this morning. Looking at your news to go now as you start your day, independent journalist Nick Shirley has arrived in California. He uncovered the corruption in Minnesota, and now he has landed on the West Coast. And caught on cam a video circulating of him testing out a daycare there. Watch.
It's Nick Shirley, our state, guys. Look.
It says there's 14 children enrolled here.
You don't care. This is my daycare.
Then where are the children?
You don't care.
Where are the children at?
It's not enough, Minnesota. You come here. It's not enough.
He's just asking, where are the children? Buckle up, everyone. The president has been telling us that the corruption there in California is massive and maybe worse than what we're seeing in Minnesota. So more to come on that as all eyes now turn to California. Well, Turning Point USA is teasing an announcement today to their Super Bowl halftime show. Will the artist be named? We shall see today. The NFL will have a man dancing in a dress on stage, Bad Bunny, who was on stage at the Grammys last night bashing ICE. we won't watch. We will be watching this. Good, wholesome music with Turning Point USA. So be on the lookout for that today. They're teasing a big announcement. And finally, the Trump Kennedy Center is getting a makeover. The president making that announcement that starting this summer, the Trump Kennedy Center will close temporarily for extensive renovations. As you know, he has really turned the Trump Kennedy Center around there in Washington, D.C. It will be temporarily closed for about 2 years and will undergo renovation. So a big announcement there this morning as well. For news on the go, log on to LINDELLTV.com. You can always follow us there and on social media for all breaking news coverage. And as always, we leave you today in prayer. Our Bible verse of the day comes from the book of Proverbs. The Bible says, "Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed." And that'll do it for us here this morning for Breaking News 24/7. Again, make sure you're following us on LINDELLTV.com and on social media. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good day, America.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just $2 a capsule. Use my promo code Lindell10, you get an extra 10% off of that. You need ivermectin, antibiotics, or methylene blue, you name it, they've got it. They make it simple. You fill out a short online form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your meds ship fast right to your front door. If you want to be prepared and have your medications on hand, this is your new pharmacy. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10 saves you even more. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10. For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping. Are you taking advantage of President Trump's golden age? Or what if I told you can just sit back and earn money as President Trump continues to repair our economy and make America energy independent again? I'm talking about oil royalty checks. With the help of the Oxford Club, thousands of Americans have unlocked this secret hack that has put money back in hard-working American pockets. Financial expert and Lindell TV supporter Mark Lichtenfield has showed me how. It's a way to profit from America's energy production that's been working quietly for decades, even when oil companies were struggling. So go to LINDELLOILBOOM.com to find out how this all works and why it's relevant right now. That's LINDELLOILBOOM.com.